Good evening, everyone. We're about to start this meeting of July 12th.
Yes.
I've got new eyes, so I can count the leaves on the trees out there, but I can't see this screen up here. So before we do, I'm going to stand for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to our country's flag. Anyone who would like to join me, please feel free to do so. Join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we are called to order. Next item on the agenda is roll call. Mr. Johnson, you got the roll, I'm sure?
Yes, sir.
Just wanted to hear you say so. Next item on the agenda is adoption of the regular agenda. Is there a motion? Motion by Ms. Bachman, second by Ms. Hayes. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is adoption of the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Hayes, second by Mr. Wise. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is consideration of the minutes of the June 14th regular meeting. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Mr. Wise, second by Ms. Bachman. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is recognition of and hearing of delegations. We have two that signed up tonight. You'll have 5 minutes to speak on an agenda item. You want to come up and just, I think they'll turn the microphone on for you. First one is Cheryl Wicker. If you would, state your name and address for the record. Right over where the little red light just come on there. State your name and address for the record, and then you'll have 5 minutes to speak on an agenda item. I think your item is the charter application, is what it says here.
All right, my name is Cheryl Wicker, and I would like to speak in favor of this charter school. And one of the points that I'd like to make is that there is a need for a school like this. We have a school in our community, the Merrill Hyde Magnet School, and this school has a waiting list. So we already know that there are people in the community that are wanting a choice in their education. So the Founder School will provide free classical education to all families. They do not require they don't have to pass an entrance exam or meet any specific grade or performance requirements. And so that makes it open to anyone, and I think that's very important. It gives the option available to more people. And then another thing is that this school is different. It does provide a very deep learning experience to form responsible citizens. One of the things that I think I'm very impressed about this school is these kids can recite the first 238 words of the Declaration of Independence by the time they're in the 3rd grade. And I think there are parents that would like to see this type of learning experience for their children. And also another point is that the Founder School is overseen by local Nashville area community members and not the establishment academia. So this gives the parents a chance to have a school system that really reflects their values. And I really do hope that you all will consider this for this community.
Thank you, Ms. Wicker. Next, Ms. Joanna Daniels. Ms. Daniels, come on down, state your name and address for the record, and you have 5 minutes to speak on the charter application.
Hi there, my name is Joanna Daniels, and I reside at 152 North Shadow-Haven Way in Hendersonville. Thank you so much for being here tonight, and thank you so much for listening to me. So I am here to talk on behalf of the Founders Classical Academy. The Founders Classical Academy, Charter School application was reviewed contributed to and endorsed by a state-level charter application reviewer. So obviously it's on point and has been reviewed by someone who's done this a few times. This independent reviewer has reviewed dozens of Tennessee charter school applications for the State Appeals Commission. The reviewer is also a successful charter school applicant and executive director of a Memphis charter school ranked number 3 in Tennessee for charter elementary schools. So pretty high up there in Tennessee. Founders Classical Academy does not use wit and wisdom and rejects any curriculum or material that promotes a political agenda or exposes children to content of a sexual nature. And just really quickly on the wit and wisdom, because it doesn't teach it there. As you know, right now there's a court case against Williamson County based on wit and wisdom, and it actually having CRT in it. And Larry Crane, who is a very high-powered constitutional attorney, has taken that on with Parents' Choice Tennessee. And as you all know, it is here in Sumner County. And actually, last year, some teachers and parents wrote a letter to Dr. Phillips and Mr. Langford about wit and wisdom and their concerns with it.
If you would stay on the charter school.
Yes, but that was one of them saying that wit and wisdom is not
We
taught.
understand that they
So
do not teach wit and wisdom,
we're
but we're not going to discuss Williamson County's lawsuit. So just.
I'm not count.
You would stay
Excuse me,
on the charter
Mr.
school,
Timber. I'm not talking about the lawsuit. I was talking about a letter that was sent by parents and teachers here in Sumner County just right now. I appreciate you letting me finish. Thank you so much. I am staying on subject. So, the Founders operations are handled by Responsive Ed, which operates 20 Founders classical schools across Texas and Arkansas, serving 11,000 students. And roughly 2/3 the size of the entire Sumner District, Responsive Ed, is a 20-year-old nonprofit organization earning $230 million in revenue with 3,000 employees, and is the largest charter operator in Texas, with 90 schools serving 20,000 students. And obviously, there's a trigger when I talk about wit and wisdom here, because I'm not being asked not to talk about it. So that is why I think that we do need to have the Founders Academy here, because there has been expression against the curriculum that is being taught here in the county schools. So we need to have choice, which the Founders Classical Academy would bring for other people and parents who do not want to have wit and wisdom taught to their children. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Daniels. Next item on the agenda is matters involving council. We have none. Next item on the agenda is report.
Mr. Chairman, can I interrupt you just a second, please, sir?
Mr. White.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have something on my heart that I'd like to make a statement. And I'd like to stand to make that statement. This has been on my heart for the last couple of weeks. Doesn't have anything to do with charter schools. It has to do with the teachers, administrators, support personnel in Sumner County public schools. I stand out of, really, not so you can see my pretty pink shirt. Real men do wear pink. However, that's not why I'm standing. I'm standing to show our teachers, our administrators, our support personnel respect and gratitude. I don't think they went to the dumbest colleges. I don't think I know it's not easy to teach children. I remember when I was in school, I was extremely difficult to teach because I couldn't sit still and I couldn't keep my mouth shut. A board across the backside helped some, but once the feeling came back, so did the motor mouth and the squirming. You know, we start school in another couple of weeks. And I really don't want our teachers to go into the classroom feeling unappreciated. I don't want them to go in feeling a burden. I want them to go in excited about a new group of students, young people's minds to influence. What I'd like to see, there are 11 board members on the Sumner County Public Board of Education. If you agree with me, out of respect and gratitude for our teachers and all those who support them, I'd like to see you stand. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Wise. Next item on the agenda is reports from the director.
Mr. Burr, Chairman Burr, may I speak, please? In very much connection, I was planning on saying this, Mr. Wise, with what you said. I really do appreciate 100% the education of our teachers, the dedication of our teachers, and they're very much appreciated. Now, all this falls in line with our director of schools, Mr. Langford, all the other ladies sitting here, our principals, our assistant principals. This is a large county. 2,300 teachers, is that about right? 1,800 classified employees. And when you get as few complaints as I do, and we all get complaints from time to time, but they're very, very low. I think I've had 2 complaints on principals maybe this past entire year. That's amazing. Very much in favor of what Mr. Wise said. I did stand up, and I'm not talking about anybody in their educational avenues. I'm just talking about Sumner County. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gregory. I have granted, the chair has granted some board member liberty, but at this point, let's move on with our agenda, please. Dr. Phillips.
Yes, sir. Just a few things that I wanted to mention really quickly. There could be a need, I'm anticipating a need for a special call meeting to hopefully approve bids for White House Intermediate. They are out on the street now. I think they come back in on the 26th. So if you would look at your calendars, and then Mr. Johnson will communicate with you once we kind of firm that up. But we're looking at maybe possibly either the 26th or the 27th, depending on how that goes. Okay, so if you would just kind of keep that in mind for the coming weeks. Test scores, obviously Mr. Langford sent information about really good breakdown of our test scores for this year. So just fabulous results, and just so proud of our teachers, proud of our students, our parents, our campus leaders, everyone in the school system really I think it did highlight the importance of us staying in school. It also highlighted the importance of Scott and his entire team, all of the teachers and administrators that helped us to have our extended school and summer school opportunities for students. All of those things made a difference, and certainly the students and teachers are at the forefront of that, and so appreciate them. One thing that I wanted two final things really quickly. I met today, I meet again tomorrow with general contractor, the owner of the contractor company that's out at Liberty Creek. They're doing a fabulous job. It is a difficult time in the construction world, if you don't know that. And they have been on jobs for us before. They've done a fabulous job. They're doing a great job on this one. They're managing a lot of difficult situations with suppliers and with subs and workers. But we are going to open Liberty Creek when we're supposed to open Liberty Creek, okay? So just rest assured that that's going to happen. USDA, we talked about this back during the budget process, and we had mentioned that USDA at that time had not extended the free meals for everyone like we've had the past couple of years. And so I think several of you said, will you keep us updated about that? And so they did not extend it. So we don't anticipate that's going to occur. We kind of felt like that. I think we had a discussion about it during budget, kind of felt like that was going to occur. We'll be messaging some things out to parents, obviously before school starts and as we go through registration and start back. But that was something that you guys had mentioned to keep you updated about, so I wanted to make sure you knew that, okay? That could always change at some point in the future, right? Y'all realize that. But right now, that's kind of where we're at.
Mr. Murray.
All right, thank you, Dr. Phillips. Ms. Andrews?
I have a quick question regarding USDA. We have launched Skyward for registration, and I've had a couple of parents mention that because, now the need to apply for free and reduced lunch is obviously greater than it's been the last couple of years. And through that, there is a glitch. Is that...
We talked about that today. JJ, you want to answer it?
So we're converting over to a different meal pay system. And there, some schools kind of shot out the registration a little bit quicker than nutrition was ready for. They are currently importing all the students into the new system, and the free and reduced form, and it'll be a live actual application form as opposed to like a PDF or something, but the free and reduced form should be available online by the end of the week. At that point, we'll message out to parents and lunch prices and, hey, you can fill out your form online and all of that stuff. We're just waiting for it to get converted over to the new system.
Thank you, Ms. Andrews. All right, seeing no other comment or question. Next item on the agenda is new business, discussion and interaction regarding Charter Application Review Committee recommendation. I believe that's Mr. Langford.
I think before we had that, Mr. Brewer, we had the agenda may have already been created, but we had an update from our team about summer scholars. They want to share some pictures and some information for you all about our summer school program.
All right, so no objection. We'll replace that with this for right now, and we'll come back to that. So.
It'll come up there in just a second.
Hi. I'm Frankie Skinner, Federal Program Supervisor. I know many of you, but I'll introduce myself anyway. Oh, here we are. All right, I get the opportunity to share some highlights with you about Summer Scholars. This is our second year of the program, K-12. K-8 is funded differently than the high school program, and so Christy and Chase will share that portion. I'm going to start with a heartfelt story with you. Oh, actually, I'm not. Sorry, wrong slide. So we had 26 locations across the district. Every community was represented and had an opportunity for their child to attend summer programming. It was the month of June, the 6th through the 30th, which nutrition and payroll were really grateful it was all in one month because that made it easy to process, not easy, it made it easier to process all the things that come along with summer programming. And so our purpose was to remediate learning gaps, accelerate learning, and then foster creativity and innovation. And I think as you see the pictures, you'll see that unfold. All right, so I'm going to give you some pre-game before I let you read. So these two little boys are brothers. They attend H.B. Williams and White House. They live in separate families, but they get to see each other because they attend the same school. Well, next year, that's not going to be the case. They're going to be in different schools. So I want you to take a minute to read that. It's an excerpt from an email that I got from a site lead just to see the impact that summer programming can have emotionally. I can't read it to you because I'll cry. So the heart punch or the gut punch for me there was summer school allowed these boys 1 more month together. So like, what an impact that program had on these boys. So just a heartfelt. So we got to serve 2,700 students in K-8. That is about 900 more than we did last year. So had a significant uptick in the numbers. We got to work with 500 plus employees across the district who didn't have to find extra summer jobs. They got to continue doing what they love. So my aspiring administrators were site leads. So those are people who are interested in leadership, who got to run the program at their building. Teachers, guidance counselors, assistants, interventionists, cafeteria workers, janitors, bus drivers, and then finance doesn't get the glory of being at a site, but it is a huge lift to take on an extra payroll in June, so we really appreciate them and want to shout them out as well. All right, so this is 1 week of Summer Scholars. We try to build some things around culture. So on Monday, we wore superhero t-shirts, and there was a superhero for each week, and that changed during the 4 weeks. Tuesday, they had superhero bands, power bands that they could wear. Then they had a color for the week, and then STEM-tastic project on Thursdays. We did STEM classes on Thursdays, and then all that was tweeted on Twitter across the district. And they were working on the same projects, K-8, but at different levels. This is really cool to see a kindergartner do something that an 8th grade was doing and how it changed. So it was pretty neat. We also chose to do author studies over the summer. So every grade level had an author. We bought books. They did the author studies over the 4 weeks, and then we sent home the books for the kids. So this is 1st grade. So every 1st grader that came to Summer Scholars took 3 books home with them at the end of the program. This was 3rd grade. If you haven't read these books, they're amazing. And then here they are reading The One and Only Ivan, and then that was a 2nd grade class with the great Gracie Chase. A book is a gift you can open again and again and again. So I think we sent home over 1,000 books with kids at the end of the program. This was the middle school text selection. They also took their books home as well. They didn't do author studies in middle schools because the books are a lot longer, and they only had 16 days. So here's some examples of the STEM-tastic Thursday. You can see leaf identification, some circuit building, and the young lady in the top right-hand corner is building a Batmobile. Guess who this superhero was that week? And here's some math classes and some of their work at Hawkins Middle School. And then at Rutgers, some interventions, some ELA. You can see the hands-on manipulatives they were working with. Got lots of great feedback from summer programming. Teachers said they had fun. Kids said they had fun. And it was Monday through Thursday from 8 to 3, so still felt like they had a long weekend and just a really good way to serve our students. So 2,700 students, 500 plus teachers, 150 other personnel, and then just reiterating those texts that got to go home with our kids, 1,000 plus books.
Good evening. So Frankie was kind enough to cover what our summer programming looked like for elementary and middle school age students. Chase and I wanted to give kind of some insight into our high school programming. High school, summer school looks a little bit different for kiddos that have to attend school or choose to attend school in June. But to start with some of the indicators of the success of the program for high school, we had 60 teachers that were teaching credit recovery courses. During the summer, we had 770 students attend the sessions and either learn in the classroom or learn through our online platform for credit recovery, which is Edgenuity. We had 17 credit recovery courses offered through the online platform, and we had 515 graduation credits that were recovered and earned by our students that attended this summer. So this picture is an example of one of the special interest camps that was taking place at Beach. It was a performing arts class, and we just really centered on this quote that every kid is one caring adult away from being a success story. And our high school teachers really embrace that, and you will see between some of the information that I'll share, and then also Chase will come up shortly to talk about the special interest camps that our kids really took off during the month of June, and the opportunity to access some additional pathways to educational opportunities. So to dive into the credit recovery aspect of summer programming, like I had mentioned, it was offered both traditionally in classrooms and in person with a teacher facilitating and providing instruction, and then also online with a teacher providing support and academic feedback through Edgenuity. You can see the courses that were offered, typically core content area classes and those that are required for graduation, so of the utmost importance. We also had some personal finance classes. That's a half credit class that is required for graduation that was offered to some students that are interested in graduating early, and it didn't fit in their traditional schedule, so they were able to access that course for the first time over the summer, allowing students to have a little bit more flexibility when they return to school during the fall semester. So Chase is going to talk us through some of the overarching themes and things that were programmed into some of our special interest camps and how our students access those.
So if you'll I've got 6 of these. You want to take every other one, you can look at those camp guides. So the special interest camps could be offered by any high school teacher. It was primarily our CT teachers and a lot of fine arts teachers were the ones offering these camps. All the camps are Monday through Thursday, either 3 hours, 15 minutes in the morning or the afternoon. And the camps can be any length. Most camps are 1 week, so 4 days. Some camps are 2 weeks, and some camps are even 4 weeks. And so we'll kind of see that in the catalog there as you go through there. And they're open to all students entering grades 9 through 12. So if you just finished senior year, you couldn't come. But if you're going to be a senior or a freshman, any of those 4 grades were able to attend any camp. And the cool part was you could go to any high school. And so sometimes, not all high schools offer the same CT programs. Culinary, for example. Culinary is a huge program for Gallatin High School. He offers 6 camps this summer, and over half of his students were not from Gallatin High School, from other schools. And I bet on the whole, probably about half of our campers in June went to camps outside of their zone school. So that just shows you the appeal. And what's funny, if you looked at the survey data, one of the questions was, why did you attend summer camp? Well, the number 2 answer was probably, my mom made me, my parents made me. But with that being said, the number 1 or 2 answer for improvements, I wish it was longer. So even though they may not have been thrilled about being there, they liked it so much, they wish it was a longer camp, which probably not always the case for camps of this type in the summer. And they were all free, so that was another bonus for our students. So in the catalog there, that was at the forefront. So we had teachers offer 65 different camps, camp titles, culinary arts to welding to all kinds of stuff, and 136 different sessions. So some, like I said, Chef West at Gallatin, he offered culinary 8 different times. Now 6 of those made it, but that's why there's a different number there. In order for that camp to take place, we had to have at least 10 students sign up. So if less than 10 signed up, that camp wasn't held. And so the ones we actually held were 43 different camps and 69 different sessions. So that's lots of students who came out this summer. 856 students and 38 teachers offered camps across 7 high schools during the month of June. Now I'm not going to read these to you. This is just a sampling of the types of camps we had. Acting was a 4-week camp. And they actually did a 1-act play at the end of that 4 weeks. That was at Beach High School, but the White House High School drama teacher helped us. They kind of did that together. We had coding, we had welding, photography, movie editing. Some courses that aren't even offered in the high school, teachers have an interest in those areas, so they offered those, and students came out and participated in those camps. So it really was a great summer in June for these camps. Here's pictures at Beach. This is theater and art camps at Beach High School. This is at Gallatin High School. They had a CSI camp. They've got a great criminal justice program, so he did some CSI type camps there, 2 camps. Culinary Arts was there. They had a metal jewelry making camp that was very popular this summer. There was actually a 4-week advanced art camp at Station Camp that had over 10 students sign up. And so you see some of the work there that our high school students did just in that 4-week span. So it's pretty incredible, the talent that some of our students have. Now this is anatomy and clay. So about half of our health science teachers are trained in what's called anatomy and clay. So what this is, it's a half skeleton, and they use clay to represent different systems in the body. So the students actually did this to represent those systems. Westmoreland offered this camp, and so did Hendersonville High School. Here's an automotive camp doing things that I definitely can't do on my car. So this is basic automotive upkeep. It was a 2-week camp at White House High School. This was at Portland High School. So on the right, a student made that rocking chair during the camp. He made it completely with the supplies at the school. And then on the left, another student made that fire pit, completely made by students. This is a sign made by the same classroom that the sign on the wall back here is at Westmoreland High School. We had a student make that sign. They had made lots of signs in that class this summer. And then survey data. So what's interesting here is these were completely anonymous. No name was asked, no email address was asked. So here's the results. How would you evaluate your overall experience? Out of 182 students that responded, 170 said positive, 12 were neutral. They had no reason not to tell the truth because it was anonymous. So I think those are pretty impressive stats for those camps. And the other question here is, would you recommend this camp to a classmate? 177 yeses. So I think those are pretty incredible numbers we had for those 43 different camps in June. I'm not going to read these quotes today, but those are just some different quotes that you can see that students left. There was an open-ended question in the survey. Hey, what are some information about your camp that you'd like to share? And so those are some quotes that our students left in those surveys.
So we in the instruction department really like a good survey because we really like to solicit meaningful feedback. Just like Chase had mentioned, we surveyed all of the students at the very end of each ending session of the camps, and then the overall summer scholars, summer programming collectively. These are just some quotes that were taken. We surveyed the teachers and the site leaders for each of those locations. And really it gave some pretty helpful insight and meaning to, what goes on behind all of the planning and the actual execution of summer programming. The teachers really appreciate the smaller class sizes. They feel like they can be more intentional with their time, and that it's just seemingly a more calm and just subdued environment just because the normal hustle and bustle of the school year is not going on. So again, you can read those quotes, but also it encompasses our credit recovery sessions and the special interest camps because our teachers and site leaders were in charge of both of those opportunity sessions. And then again, to kind of reiterate something that Frankie mentioned earlier, collective effort drives success in its outcomes. And so obviously you can see we had major impact and participation in our summer programming. It was a busy month of June. We were busy visiting sites, helping and supporting teachers, going and seeing what all the students were doing, answering communication and questions that were coming in, and supporting our site leaders who were serving as aspiring administrators in that summer school capacity. There's also so much that goes on behind the scenes. So between Lisa and her team of nurses, we had to have nurses on site, Andy and the buses and transportation, all of the instruction department coordinators, our teachers and site leaders, but also payroll and finance. Extending the school year by a month really has some major implications as they're trying to close out the fiscal year, right, Amanda? And so we're just so appreciative of the collective effort. I know it's a heavy lift. We feel like we're in a good place as we're ending year 2 of summer programming. And again, we've solicited a lot of input and feedback to make sure that our planning efforts for next summer are even better than what we experienced this year. So we just wanted to share some of those insights with you all so you are aware of what was going on. Even though school was out, summer school was definitely in session. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. Any comments from anyone? Ms. Brown.
I would like to know the average class size.
The average class size for elementary K-8 is 15.
Hey.
For middle school was about 12, and
probably 10 to 12 for the camps.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Mr. Duncan.
I'd like to take my board hat off for a moment, put my parent hat on. These special interest camps, I don't know if this was your intention, but you helped a lot of students make the decision of what they were doing in college would be the right thing. My daughter's the perfect case. She took the forensic camp at Gallatin. That has allowed her to decide what her college major is going to be. Again, it may not have been the goal when they were set up, but I think we're helping students go to college having a direction that they want to pursue in that future education. So they don't go to college just going, I don't know what I want to do. At least they have a direction they want to start in college. They may not finish that direction, but it gives them a focus so when they go to the higher education, they have something to be excited about. And I just want to give you that feedback because you got feedback from the students and the teachers, but from a parent, thank you.
Thank you.
It's very helpful. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Duncan. Thank you all. Y'all did a fantastic job. I've heard a lot of feedback from parents, and the kids are just raving about it. Had a really great time. So thank y'all for all you do. Okay, back on the agenda, and we are back to new business, discussion, interaction, discussing regarding Charter Application Review Committee recommendation. Mr.
And I would say, just to piggyback off Mr. Duncan, these three, Chase, Christy, and Frankie, you know, like the camps were wildly successful and they were so great for the kids. But that happened, you know, they gave a lot of shout outs as they should to everybody else. But the back end work on getting all that set up and coordinating the hundreds of camps and locations, everything, these three did a tremendous job with a lot of help and support, but they did a tremendous job coordinating everything. And Mr. Duncan, I think that our goal from the start was, you know, one of the things we're trying to do is my watch always does that, was to try to increase the opportunities for kids to be able to do those career explorations, because it's hard, you know, even beyond their regular academic schedule. Our kids are tied, you know, are connected into so many extracurriculars, and to just give them time in the summer to do some job shadowing and career exploration and things like that is a huge thing. We're hoping we can continue to expand it. Mr. Daniels has been wanting for 3 years. He and I have talked about having an arts camp, fine arts camp with a theater production. And I hate that he's out tonight because we finally got that done, and we're looking forward to, you know, our goal would ultimately be able to do like a countywide musical performance, and I think we're well on the way to do that. So we're appreciative. Thank y'all for your comments, and thank y'all for your work. Really appreciate it. Okay, we'll go ahead and jump in. We began our committee reporting back in, in December. We received a note that we had a charter school application, and so I'm just going to go briefly and quickly. We've been through this before. I want to just explain a little bit about the grounding of the committee, who's on the committee, and the work that we did. Okay, so as we began the charter school authorization process, remember that we are the school board is the authorizer of a charter school, and so we went through and we began with our committee is what is a charter school, what is the purpose of a charter school, what laws and policies govern charter schools, and what is a quality authorizer. So. We went through this in April in study session and at the board meeting. But charter schools are public schools operated by independent nonprofit governing bodies, and there are some of the rules specific to Tennessee. The local boards of education ensure that only those charter schools open that meet the needs of their students, that only those shall open and remain open throughout their 10-year charter term. Local boards do this through a rigorous authorization process, ongoing monitoring of the academic, operational, and financial performance of charter schools, and when necessary, through the revocation or non-renewal of charters. So here are some of the outlines. Here's 6 points about the purpose of a charter school: improve learning for all students, close achievement gaps, provide options for parents to meet educational needs of children, encourage the use of different and innovative teaching methods, provide greater decision-making authority, and in exchange for greater responsibility for student performance. Measure performance of pupils and faculty, create new professional opportunities for teachers, and to afford parents substantial, meaningful opportunities to participate in the education of their children. That's the purpose of a charter school. Okay, and there is the law that outlines specifically what governs a charter school and the specific Tennessee Code annotated reference. Again, we went through this in April. It's here in this presentation. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to walk through. And of course, state law authorizes, and then the state board sets policy. And so, 2018, adopted in 2018, the standards aligned to national best practices and law and detail the essential practices that govern the operation of charter school authorizers in Tennessee. A quality authorizer maintains high standards for its charter schools in exchange for autonomy, while ensuring student and public interests are protected. Authorizers are evaluated biennially on the standards by the state board, and quality authorizing begins with the charter application. And again, this is the part for the school board that is the authorizer. So it grants charters to applicants that have demonstrated competence and capacity to succeed in all aspects of their model consistent with the state scoring rubric criteria. Approves applications that are comprised of a detailed plan for charter school opening, operation, and fiscal stability with little substantive work left for later development. Informs applicants of their rights and responsibilities and promptly notifies applicants of approval or denial while explaining the factors that determine the decision so that the applicants can decide if they wish to revise their plans based in part on that information and resubmit in the future. Okay, so those are the tasks given to a quality authorizer. So just here's just an overview of the quality application review process. We completed this first part in April. So we designated an application review team. We reviewed the process, timeline of meetings. We looked at the scoring rubric. We did an initial review. After the initial review, we did a 90-minute capacity interview. Then we did a final review and recommendation in April, and the board voted, and we made the proper notification to Tennessee Department, to Tennessee Charter Group, and then to Founders Classical Academy. We received a revised charter school application on May 20th, which we have reviewed. And then tonight, we're providing you with the revised review and recommendation. And then you have the opportunity to vote to make a decision whether to accept or reject the recommendation of the committee. Okay, so again, here is our team. Dr. Dale Phillips, Paul Decker, Dr. Charles Lee, Amy Ramsey, Amanda Brown, Norma Dam, myself, Andy Brown, Chris Brown, Katie Brown, Lisa Heron, Jeremy Johnson, Craig Ott, Brad Schreiner, Dr. Jeff Yon, and Rhonda Jernigan. Those were the committee members. Okay, and then again, here's just an overview of the timeline. The first part through April 19th, we completed the board meeting in April. May 20th, as I stated, we received the revised application. June 28th, we met and reviewed the revised application, and tonight you're receiving the recommendation. Okay, so where we are, we've been through all the other steps. Tonight, the board will vote on the amended application, which is within the 60-day window of receipt from May 20th. And then if you vote to approve the charter and to have to approve Founders Classical Academy Hendersonville's charter, then we would have a charter school starting in the fall of 2024. If you reject, then they will have the opportunity to appeal to the commission within 10 days of receiving that denial. Okay, so let's go through. There are 3 parts to a charter school application scoring rubric review: academic plan, design, and capacity, operations, and then financial. Okay, and again, this is the rubric document that you have a hard copy of, and it gives some guidelines at the top about what a successful application or what successful comments look like, and then it has strengths and then comments, questions. Just so you know, on this one, we pulled up from our final review in April. We moved that up into the initial review box. So when you look at the initial review box, those were the comments that we made that were offered as the recommendation in April. The final now is what is the current review. Okay, there's not really on the rubric, we're supposed to use the rubric again, but there's not another set of boxes for the revised. Okay, and again, here's when you review each part, you look to see if it meets or exceeds the standards, whether it partially meets the standard or does not meet the standard. I'll give you a moment to look at that. Okay, so here is the Charter School Authorizer Committee recommendation. Okay, for Section 1, Academic Plan Design and Capacity, Founders Classical Academy of Hendersonville did not sufficiently study the Hendersonville Station Camp area. I'd like to clarify from, they mentioned in the application, in the revision, that it's not just, they go into more detail about adding Gallatin to the area. The area that the application seems to reference is not all of Gallatin. It seems to be more of the 386, what we would call Station Camp. It doesn't seem to be the full, I mean, it may be Gallatin, but the area described seems to reflect more on Station Camp. But even if you included Gallatin, there's not really as much demographic study of the area. Merrill Magnet is structured as a classical school, and Sumner County students, in the definition, the executive summary of what a classical education is, Sumner County students currently receive strong foundational literacy. They refer to as phonics. Phonics is one part of an overarching foundational literacy. In Tennessee, we call that foundational literacy. What Founders is Founders and Sumner County schools are pretty much aligned on the importance of foundational literacy. We all know, contrary to what's happened the last 30 years in education, phonics and systematic foundational literacy is the way that you teach kids to read. But all of our kindergarten through third grade, or pre-K through third grade students receive everyday strong foundational literacy instruction every day. Our interventions are built around strong foundational skills. If you saw the test results that we sent out, our proficiency ratings increased in our English language learners significantly. And it happened because, Jamie Warren, our EL coordinator, has worked tirelessly to get decodable readers and foundational literacy materials, not just to our elementary EL students, but to all of our EL students. And so that's the way that you increase reading, is by learning how to sound out, break down, decode words. Frankie could tell this much better than me. But it's very important, reading instruction that builds rich content knowledge, advanced math and sciences, music and art, and foreign languages. Sumner County students have access in the Hendersonville area to Chinese, French, German, and Spanish between our different schools. Hendersonville High School has extensive fine arts offering and is adding an audiovisual production CTE career pathway that introduces the recording aspect, the more technical aspects of music, while also Hendersonville's always had a strong band, strong orchestra. They're adding guitar and piano this year, in addition to AP classes in music theory. Indian Lake, Jack Anderson, Station Camp, and Burris are STEM accredited schools in the Hendersonville area. Sumner County has the most STEM accredited schools in the state of Tennessee, and we continue to add each year. Founders Classical Academy of Hendersonville did not demonstrate community support through letters of support, MOUs, or contracts with community partners. The attachment in the application packet does not provide any of those. Founders Classical Academy of Hendersonville is not prepared to support special population students. Projected enrollments for students with disabilities, EL students, and economically disadvantaged students is significantly below the actual demographics for Hendersonville and Sumner County. While staffing increased from the initial application to the revised application, they did increase the staffing to meet the needs of special population students. However, the projected budgets do not provide adequate funding for teachers and support staff for special population students and are not clear as to specific responsibilities. If you read the individual sections, you will see language, and especially when you get into Section N and Section O about the budget is it a special education teacher? Is it a special ed teacher? Is it a 504 support? We are very clear in Sumner County about those different roles and responsibilities, and you have to be to make sure that kids' needs are met. Attachment O, the very last paragraph in Attachment O indicates that the budget in year one does not support increased provision for student need without additional revenues or a cut to services. The one thing that we know in the school business is you will always find that students have more needs than you anticipated, and you have to be prepared to meet those needs. Okay, Founders Classical Academy of Hendersonville does not provide sufficient CTE and post-secondary options for students. One career pathway for CTE students in audiovisual production compared to 30 in Sumner County. We're the #1 CTE district in the state of Tennessee. No planned dual enrollment offerings, at least with MOUs signed with Vol State or area colleges. AP offerings in the revised application mentioned that they're offered primarily to seniors. Merrill Hyde and HHS offer extensive AP and post-secondary offerings, Beach High School does, Station Camp High School does. Plans to meet CTE needs in the application for students through summer internships, after-school clubs, and parental help is not the same thing as career paths that build knowledge in career technical education, provide opportunities for initial certification, but also put kids on the right path to whether it's a post-secondary tech school or whether it's a four-year university or what path that might be. No plan to provide intervention support for students struggling to meet graduation requirements. If you saw earlier in the presentation when Christy was sharing credit recovery, you see that's a fingernail sketch of the work that we do every year for kids to recover credits. It's essentially vital now because we have so many kids that are behind. Last year we had over 1,000 kids move to Sumner County from other districts or other states. Many of those districts or states were out of school for significant time. While we were in person, 93% in elementary, 86% in secondary, while we were in school, many other parts of the country were not, other parts of Tennessee were not. Those kids are coming in all over the place with their needs of credit. It ups the need for intervention and for credit recovery. Our kids receive that. Here is an example of the AP offerings. Remember, in the application, it mentions AP primarily for seniors. These are the current AP offerings at Hendersonville High School. English literature, English language, calculus AB, calculus BC, statistics, biology, chemistry, environmental science, physics 1, physics 2, U.S. history, human geography, world history, European history, government, psychology, Spanish, art, music theory, research, and seminar. In addition to that, they have skinny block classes in anatomy and physiology 1 and 2, a host of other honors classes that aren't quite at the AP level, but a thorough classical education to provide the background that we want our kids to have when they go on to pursue their career. That's at Hendersonville High School. Okay, we're also bringing online in the future virtual offerings. I would also add research and seminar makes Hendersonville High School, along with Merrill Hyde and White House High School, they're part of the AP Capstone Diploma Project. And so if you complete AP Research and Seminar, which is really a self-guided, in research you learn how to do research. In seminar you basically create what I would say the closest thing I can think of is a master's thesis. You pick a topic of interest. It could be in chemistry, it could be in criminal justice, it could be in English. You work with faculty members, you have a committee, you work through the process, and you learn the ins and outs of research and how to put together a final product, which is the best thing I can think of for kids to do that are going to a four-year university. So we have 3 high schools that have that path now. Hendersonville High School, Merrill Hyde, White House. So the recommendation of the committee was that overall the revised application does not meet the standard. Okay, and you can see here were the final scores. School mission and vision partially met, and if you want to read through, you can see enrollment summary did not meet. Academic focus and plan partially met. Academic performance standard met the standard. 1.5 is one that applies to networks or charter applicants that have other charter schools. So when you see does not apply, it just means that as a new charter, they're not required to. They can't provide that information because they don't have other charters in the state of Tennessee. High school graduation and post-secondary readiness did not meet the standard. Assessments partially. School calendar and schedule did not meet. Special populations and at-risk students partially met. School culture and discipline did not meet. Recruitment and enrollment did not meet. Parent and community engagement and support did not meet for the overall summary of did not meet the standard. Okay, moving on to section 2, operations plan, design, and capacity. Founders Classical Academy of Hendersonville does not have a viable plan to operate a school by August of 2024. They lack a physical location or any agreement. They've reduced for the first year. They're willing to look for a 40,000 square foot facility. The projected 40,000 square foot space does not adequately meet the needs of students, and it's not comparable to what our Sumner County students have. For comparison's sake, Burris Elementary is 100,000 square feet, a 40,000 square foot space with a projected first year enrollment of around 600 students. You could run a school in that kind of space, but it's not comparable to what Sumner County students would receive and expect. Founders Classical lacks a plan for playgrounds, gym, outside recreational facilities, or a plan on classroom usage. If you read in depth on the plan, there are places with the 40,000 square foot facility where they said they need 24 classrooms, but their initial projections of classrooms would call for 28. So there's some work that still needs to be done to meet the needs of kids based on their enrollment estimates. Market research in the Hendersonville area does not support the school's ability to build or renovate a space suitable to open a school by August of 2024. Founders Classical Academy of Hendersonville lacks a detailed safety and security plan, and there are not sufficient budgeted funds to support the described technology plan regarding tied to security. Founders Classical Academy of Hendersonville does not have a plan to recruit and retain teachers in the highly competitive environment in the Hendersonville, Gallatin, Sumner County, Middle Tennessee. This is a tough time to find teachers. It's a challenging time to find and recruit teachers. Okay, Founders Classical Academy of Hendersonville requested a waiver requiring Tennessee administrative licensure for principals. In the initial application, they did not request any waivers. In this application, they requested a list of waivers. They're in the actual packet. If you look at the towards the end of section 2, you can see it's 2.11. So they did not request waivers initially. They did request some waivers. 2 that we had concerns about, one listed here is not requiring Tennessee administrative licensure for principals. The other is having a physical library. Okay, so the overall recommendation of the committee is that section 2, operations plan, design, and capacity, does not meet the standard. And there you can see the each section category review. Governance partially met, startup partially met, facilities did not meet, personnel human capital partially met, professional development partially met, insurance met, transportation met, food service partially met, additional operations did not meet, charter management organization partially met, and waivers partially met. Overall summary did not meet the standard. Okay. Section 3, financial plan and capacity. Founders Classical Academy of Hendersonville did not budget to meet Tennessee BEP staffing requirements. From the initial application to the revised, they did increase the overall staffing of the school, but what does not match is the overall requirements that Sumner County schools meet to meet the needs of our kids with all of staff, all the support staff. Founders Classical Academy of Hendersonville did not prepare a complete or accurate budget that shows the ability to open and operate a school in Sumner County on their proposed timeline. Founders Classical does not adequately fund required Social Security and Medicare taxes for their employees. The budget lacks sufficient funding for employee retirement. They have a 1.3 estimated budget shortfall in year 1 that will require donations, philanthropy, and a line of credit. That's a substantial amount of money to have to raise between now and August of 2024. Founders Classical does not budget for additional year 1 costs to meet the needs of special population students, which are significantly underestimated in the application. Their demographic estimate is about half of what right around half of what we estimate for Sumner County enrollment as a whole. So section 3, the recommendation does not meet the standard. Okay. They combine in the application 3.1 and 3.2 are together. And you can see that the recommendation of the committee did not meet the standard. And the committee unanimously recommends to reject the revised charter application for Founders Classical Academy of Hendersonville. Our recommendation to the board would be that in the resolution that you would approve the committee's recommendation to reject the charter. Do you have any questions?
Mr. Wilkerson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So correct me if I'm wrong, the initial application was reviewed and it was said these are the areas that are lacking, which to me says you have to get this in order to meet or exceed the standard. And I only see one place where it went from partially meets to meets or exceeds, 2 places where it did not meet, that went to partially meets, and then the one area where it went from meets to partially meets. So to me it says, and this is just me, that the recommendations or the concerns and questions weren't really addressed in most places.
I think that they did a substantial amount of work in between the initial review and what they resubmitted, but I agree that they did not meet what we would expect as a quality authorizer. Because you remember the challenge is to be in a place where the school's pretty close to being ready to open, not in terms of the actual building and things like that, but to have the processes, the systems and the structures and everything like that in place. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I've got one, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Langford, if I understand correctly, there was a statement made that they do not meet the BEP requirements for public schools in the state. Is that correct?
Not for all staffing. They do for teachers.
But they don't meet what the state requirement is for school system.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Duncan? Anyone else? Seeing none, is there a motion?
So moved.
Would you state your motion?
Let's see, to approve the committee's recommendation to reject this application. I think that's what we
Second. Second by Mr. Duncan. Any discussion? Before I got a second, Mr. Duncan, or Mr. Gregory, is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. If I get my screen back up. I'll use my paper one. Oh, there it is. All right, next item on the agenda is unfinished business discussion and interaction regarding revision to policy 6.300, student disciplinary procedures upon second reading. Mr. Wise has made a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Andrews. Any discussion?
Do we need to waive second reading, don't you?
Do we need to wait? This is second reading.
This is second
Yeah,
reading.
this is
Okay.
second reading. Yeah. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Next item on the agenda, discussion and interaction regarding amendments to the general purpose budget. Motion approved by Mr. Wise, second by Ms. Hayes. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Next item on the agenda, discussion and interaction regarding amendments to the federal budget. Motion approved by Mr. Wise. Second by Mr. Wilkerson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is discussion of study session items. We've got a motion and a second, Mr. Johnson.
So we will have Mr. Langford's traveling roadshow of test scores on our study session. And just to remind everybody that the study session, because of the start of school and election week and all that, that the study session is August 9th.
All right, next item on the agenda is communication to board members. Before we go around to the board, we have passed out the director's evaluation for review, and we strategically placed it there so that you could mention something about it in board comments if you'd like. And with that being said, we'll move on to board comments. Is that correct? I think it is. Ms. Hayes, would you like to begin?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chairman Brewer. Woohoo! Well done. We are grateful for Dr. Phillips. So thank you. It's good to have you back too tonight. We have some amazing scholars in this county, and I hope that we will recognize our AP. I know that this week has been, the scores have come out except for what World Sciences or something with AP. Harrisonville High School, with reported scores, had 56 students that got 96 AP 5s. One young man had 6 signs in his yard. That's 5, the best score you can get. Another young man had 5 5s. with a multiple others. So our capstone AP programs, it's just off the charts here. We are blowing and going. CTE, our academics, the arts, it's just phenomenal. And that doesn't just happen. That happens because there's a lot of people, very bright, intelligent educators who work tirelessly to invest in these students and go over and above to help them succeed. Excellence. So I'm just so grateful. I'm just so grateful for all the work that is done to give these students a phenomenal opportunities. So thank you. And thank you, Dr. Phillips.
Thank you, Ms. Hayes. Ms. Bachman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I too just want to echo my appreciation for the Summer Scholars Program. All four of my grandchildren attended and they loved every minute of it. And I also want to commend Hendersonville High School, the robotics teacher there, worked with the middle school. My Noah went to the robotics class and he found something he really loves to do. So he will be in Ellis now and hopefully join the robotics club. But thank you all for all you do. It's absolutely amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bachman. Ms. Andrews?
Yes, I wanted to mention tonight through TSBA, and as I'm going to get our yearly hours and stuff like that. One of the courses that I took was kind of on the CTE pathway and so forth, and kind of some things that we're doing, which I enjoyed because I was like, well, we're already doing those things. Just talking about the aptitude test and so forth to do, and pairing kids down the correct path. But one of the things that was said that has stuck with me that I think that we should consider is we have been really focused on talking about kids figuring out college and career. For us to consider changing that language to just career, because even if they go to college, they're getting a career. And so by saying college and career, you almost put this I'm better than you, like you went off to school, but you went to the workforce, we're not the same. And that's not true. For many of those kiddos that are going, whether they're going into, some type of trade, whether they're going into the military, or whether they are going, to some type of university or degree type program to get maybe a more white collar type job, they're all going for a career. And so I thought specifically too, if we were going to do the t-shirt days again, I would really love to see us maybe change that wording to career days instead of just college, because it was so heavily focused on those, 4-year universities, 2-year universities, rather than giving the technical and military paths kind of the due service that they deserve. So that's just something as we start out the new school year, just kind of maybe considering that and just changing the verbiage. And then I also just want to say thank you to Andrew and his team with Summer Scholars. They did a great job. People were like, wait a minute, it's June. Why are there buses out? They're good Summer Scholars. And then on top of that, it talks, says a lot about community relations. That's one thing I love about Sumner County is just the community relations that we have and partnerships that we have. That when I went to Long Hollow's Light Up the Pike, there Andrew was driving a bus, because that's the type of leadership we have in our county, are those who get their hands dirty as well. But to have the bus drivers that dedicated that time to come out and to help with the traffic flow and so forth, and getting people safely to the campus so that they could enjoy a night of fireworks. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Ms. Andrews. Mr. Nuckin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I don't have anything. I've got a lot of things I want to say, but I'm trying to be politically correct for another month. But I would like to reiterate what I said earlier about all the staff and all the love and compassion they put into the programs that we have in this county. That's what irks me about charter school applications that don't even meet the minimum standards set by the state. I don't know that they will ever have the compassion that our educators have in this school district. So on that note, I'm going to just say thank you again, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Duncan. Ms. Hawkins?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My commendation to the summer scholars. It was so interesting to hear all the programs and the touching story of the two brothers. And I just want to thank you. I heard a lot of good feedback. I don't have children in school. They've all graduated and moved on. But just from other families, I have heard good feedback about how well the program was run. Secondly, I want to say that I'm glad to see Dr. Phillips back after his little adventure, and if you want to call it that. And I'm not even sure how to address the comments that were made about educators, because it was just so stunning and misguided. And my husband got his master's degree from Peabody at Vanderbilt in education. I have a minor in secondary education. The very idea that someone would say those kind of things about educators doesn't tell me anything about teachers or educators. What it does is it tells me everything I need to know about the person that said it. And that's more than enough for me to turn away from that. And I will end with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hawkins. Mr. Wise, do you have a motion or a second?
Yeah, do you feel so adjourned? According to this evaluation, Doc, it looks like you're doing an excellent job. I agree with it, and I appreciate you.
You got points on the table. You got points on the table.
Yeah. Well, I won't say. He knows. I don't believe we meet again until school opens. Is that correct? I think that's right. So I would like to remind all of us in the room and the public, we've kind of gotten accustomed to going 35, 40, whatever through these school zones. Those flashing lights are going to be flashing, aren't they, Andy? And they're going to say 15 or 20, whatever it is. They say, please pay attention to them. Please pay attention to them, or I might do a citizen's arrest if I catch you. Watch out for those big yellow buses. When that stop sign is out there, that means stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wise. Ms. Brown?
I know I do. I look at things differently. And my thing is, when we hire teachers or any staff, we assume they're going to do their job. You know, we don't, to me, when I hear somebody's a teacher, I assume they're doing what they need to do. Sorry. And I know that's why we have good principals. But where it all comes from is the top. And the biggest change over the years, because I've always attended meetings, I noticed is the idea of looking ahead. You improve what you've got and you look to see what we need in the future. And that's our to me, our greatest asset. And I think Dr. Phillips was the first one that really focused on the ahead. And I think that's where we've got to be, because you can't get better if you're not trying, and playing catch up doesn't work. So I appreciate everybody.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Mr. Gregory?
Congratulations, Dr. Phillips, on his evaluation. That's about it was almost an A plus. One question to someone. I know this is the season, and it's actually passed a little bit of hiring teachers. And the last thing that I saw on TV before I left the house, one of our neighboring counties was having a real hard time of having enough teachers. And one that we're compared to sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question, Mr. Chairman. I'm glad to answer that. You know, we talk about it every day and have for quite some time. You know, I think we have been proactive in pay, benefits, and having a good relationship with the county, so we're able to hire early. In the past, 11 years ago, 12 years ago, we would still be waiting on a budget to be approved, and so we didn't even know if we could hire teachers until September, my first year. So I think we've really done a nice job to put ourselves in the most competitive spot. With that being said, the market today is vastly different than it was 2 years ago. We are not unlike any other industry, although we are typically more shielded than the open market, private market. We typically don't have a severe reaction as severe as other labor markets. But all school systems are in a different situation today than they were 2 years ago. We feel that, our principals feel that, Norman Dam feels that. Some of it is really revolves around supply. There aren't enough teachers applying for jobs that are vacant. We don't have enough teachers being certified to teach, and especially in areas like math and SPED and higher level science. Those jobs that have always been out there kind of at the edge of being really difficult to find, they're even more so now. And so those news reports that you hear are correct. You know, we're doing everything that we can inside the system, and we've been proactive, like I mentioned. But we feel it too this year, probably more so than we have in my time here. And there are things that the state has done, just to kind of end this. Some things the state has recently done through this last legislative session that will have more impact, I think, next year, that we'll all be discussing here, that may help with that to some extent, like retirees being able to retire, draw a portion of their pension, but also work full-time for us. There are things like that that have already passed, but they were so late this year, people really we didn't even know how TCRS was going to implement those things until really literally mid-June. And so next year, I think that will make a difference with some teachers that could help fill the gap, maybe get some back that retired in the last year or so. And then we're continuing to work with the legislature and our delegation to try and help them understand the need so we can find alternative ways to have individuals with college degrees that want to teach to be able to get into the job, to our job focus.
Thank you, Dr. Phillips. Is that all, Mr. Gregory? Thank you, Mr. Gregory. Mr. Wilkerson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, let me say thank you for all the work that went into reviewing and deciphering and reviewing and deciphering on the charter school. I appreciate all the work that you all do in every capacity of the school board, of the school system, the administrative part of it. I especially have a tremendous amount of appreciation for teachers. I don't know how they do it without going to jail. But I want to just say that I appreciate them greatly. My kids acted a little different at school, I know, but they didn't act like some do today because they knew how it would act when they got home. But now it's against the law to beat your kids, I guess. But mine turned out very good, so I appreciate them. And going into a new school year with all that's been in the news, we need to keep them in our thoughts and prayers daily. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilkerson. And I'll end with this. I got the scores and everything that y'all sent out, and I'm about to turn the backflip. I'm like, this is absolutely fantastic. And as I'm walking on my dread meal every morning, watching the news channel, they're talking about all the others around the counties had just a little bit of increase here, but we're coming out of COVID and we're doing this and we're doing that, and I'm waiting on them to talk about Sumner County. And while I won't call the number out that I watch while I'm on the dread meal, I will invite them to report Sumner County's scores to let them know, let the people know who are standing on dread meals that time of the morning know how great Sumner County is doing. And it's done because of people like yourselves. I mean, y'all just did a fantastic job on the Summer Scholars thing. I've heard just rave reviews from people on that, and it's like I said, it starts from the top down, and it goes all the way to the least, the ones among us. So it's just a team effort, and we've got a great team here in Sumner County. So proud of all you guys, and hope you have a great rest of the summer. And we'll be back August 9th, I think. Is that right?
Be looking for JJ to call you about next week, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Special call. It'll be later, probably in September. I'll get school started.
Okay.
Just be mindful with the special call on the 25th, 26th, please.
Yeah, 25, 26.
Yeah.
All right. All right. With all that said, I feel so adjourned.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.